I am your host. My name is Jacob Berry, and today we've got a special guest with us. His name is Justin Quinn. Now, he is the product manager at DX1 in their DMS field, and today we're going to talk about exactly that, the DMS in your dealership. So I'd like to welcome Justin onto the program here. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, Jacob. Thanks for having me.
Good, man. Good. So we were talking a little bit before about a little of your history. Can you just kind of recap a little bit for us, your dealership industry experience and the kind of different roles that you've had within the dealership itself?
Yeah, sure. Well, it started early at a young age, as far as just like a lot of people getting in the dealerships. It was part of my family racing, being out the track, big groups of stuff. And as I got a little bit older, I got to know these dealers a little bit better from sponsoring at the races, had one close to my school. So got to go in there. And my first experience, was pushing brooms and pulling parts and, things you'd probably let a young teenager do in a dealership who just kind of loves it. And then as time went on, I was chasing a professional racing career. So dealerships were always a great spot, for trying to have a job. They could understand a little bit of what I was doing. There were some fringe benefits to discounts on parts and other stuff, but overall it worked. And so I spent time in dealerships in Memphis, Tennessee. When I was on the East Coast, I was racing out there. That was, probably the first real dedicated to working job, and started at shipping and receiving. That was really my first imprint in a dealership, really working, which I was really glad about, because as time went on, either at that moment or as a parts manager or anywhere in the dealership, you realize how important that shipping and receiving position can go. So I think it kind of got my brain geared up towards more of a management side. And then as I continued trying to get that professional motocross career, I worked back out to the West Coast, which is where I'm from, and had a chance to work in a big multi-store dealership on the coast. Same thing was in shipping, receiving there. I mean, I just think I really fit that role. I'm sure we'll talk about it, but most dealers are looking for good, dependable people who can not cut corners and do things right. And that's how I was taught in that dealership. And then later on, I was fortunate enough to work for KTM. I worked in their racing program early on. So not quite the dealership, but certainly working with an OEM. And then after that, I worked my way at Win with a distributor. At the time, it was motorcycle stuff. They were purchased many years ago. But I actually had an opportunity to work as a rep, as a distributor. In dealerships, you meet these guys all the time, and you always wonder what it's like on that side of the fence. So it was nice to exactly do that, be on that side of the fence and understand, what it's like, again, to meet a lot of dealers. I think that was really the time I started meeting dealers, really understanding there's not just one way to do it type of thing, and how diverse the industry can be. So I was able to do that, and then eventually settled into Sacramento, California, and worked with a dealership group there for 5 years, and came in to manage their parts departments for both stores, and then eventually ended up working my way into a general manager role with them. And then, eventually decided I wanted to go back to school, kind of got a degree, and at the same time started to do some consulting for dealerships, again, just trying to help dealers understand how to match their DMS with their processes. No matter what DMS you're in, that's always a challenge. So did that for quite a few years. And then, eventually, as the most recent, before my time here at DX1, I was up with one of my good friends, purchased a dealership up in Montana, and had a chance to work with him. So back in again doing that, and then eventually one thing led to another, and now I'm with DX1. That dealership ended up signing up with DX1, so we got to know each other, and they said, hey, we're looking for a right kind of person, and asked me if I was interested. And so here I am now, almost 3 years in as a product manager for a DMS.
Wow, man. What a career. What a career. So you've got a lot of longevity in there. And before we get into the DMS conversation, because that's what this podcast is going to be about, I wanted to ask you a couple questions about your history there. First of all, when you were on the KTM racing team, did you know any of the pro riders that were part of that whole racing organization back in the day, like Roger DeCoster and some of the other champions?
Yeah, I got to meet, guys like Roger. So my boss at KTM is in the AMA Motorcycle Hall of Fame. He's been on the MIC Industry Council. His name's Selvaraj Narayan. I think, if you've been around the industry, you probably know that name. He's everywhere. He's at the races. He's at business. He's at shows. And he really imprinted a lot of this not work ethic per se. I thought my dad did a good job, but when it came to stepping it up, and again, working at KTM and seeing all the intricacies, and he introduced me to many of those racers, the Roger DeCosters of the world. I mean, we were competing against them. And then, of course, I was the team coordinator. So at the time, we had Grant Langston, Brock Sellards, David Pinkree, and Kelly Smith. Being a privateer, you get to know some of those guys, but they're your competitors. So it was much different. Yeah, to get to know people, I could always say, yeah, I know of that person, but I don't know them personally, type of thing. So yeah, there was a great opportunity to meet some childhood heroes, some peers, and eventually form some friendships with people who were competitors at the time.
That's
So
cool,
yeah,
man.
it was really great.
That's super cool, man. Super cool. A lot of people dream of that. So, and then you mentioned that you the last dealership that you were working with doing some consulting and then ultimately signed on with DX1. What's the name of your friend there in Montana?
Yeah, Blitz Motorsports up in Montana. He's a good friend, goes back a long time. He's like a lot of us. He's why he's in the dealership game, just a love. It's been in his life the whole time. And yeah, right before COVID, he got a call. I got a call, and he said, "Hey, bought a Yamaha dealership, and looking for some help to get it going." And we went up there, and thought maybe there could be something we could do in the long run. And yeah, we got him going, and I think business was going good. And like I said, this opportunity came up, and yeah, it looked like a good opportunity to take. And I think he was very happy for me, and he's thriving and doing great today.
Good deal, man. Shout out to Bliss Motorsports up there in Montana, enjoying that cool weather in summertime here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Well, let's get into the meat and potatoes, right? So DMS, dealer management software, dealer management system, right?
Yep.
It's an acronym that could it could bring some, some rough feelings for a lot of operators, right? There's certainly some good points to a DMS. There could also be some rough points, some hard edges, right? That a lot of dealership operators and staff rub up against. But let's kind of break down a couple of the points of the DMS, right? So let's talk about the available products that are out there that someone listening to this might be using, at that time, right? There's the big one, right? There's DX1, right? You guys got a pretty cool DMS, right? I know a lot of dealers have been using it as of late, last couple of years. You guys got a lot of new onboards, throwing out some competition names for you here, just to kind of draw some comparison. CDK Global with Lightspeed is obviously the big one, right?
Yep.
And then you got some factory back ones like Harley. They use Talon. What are some other competitors in the space of the DMS, that are pretty common?
Yeah, I think you've named kind of the bigger hitters there. We have dealers that join us from Lizzie is one of them. Black
Lizzie?
Pearl, we hear of. Ideal. I mean, there's a number of systems out there that dealers use, and many of us do certain things very well. As you mentioned, I'll just say that right up front. It doesn't matter which DMS it is. We all have room to improve. So ultimately, but one of the products that we've built over the last couple of years, which are just a hit, are called smart notifications. So all this stuff we were talking about earlier that just eat up time, lots and lots of time, or people forget or not good at these tasks. We have designed a system that's pretty much managing that for you. So in what you're talking about, a part, yeah, you can have the part aging report, but in your receiving process, we've added in fields that allow you to go and say, tell me on this part, not just a category or not just a general report, so I can be notified in real time. So that's one of the tools that's been being utilized. We came out with that for parts about 2 months ago, and dealers are loving it. In that process, we're doing a lot of that real-time notification type of stuff. I mentioned that's what our dealers are asking for is, how can you help me manage my department? Not click things, not add things. I really, what I need is a virtual employee. And so that's what we've been working on, is a virtual employee. It doesn't go to sleep. It doesn't take vacation. It doesn't go away. And it does the same tasks that you need over and over every day in real time. And that's one of those tools we hope dealers can use, because obsolescence, yeah, we know what it is at a high level, but to your point, I may want to send something back, or I may want to discount something in 7 days, 14 days. I talk with a lot of dealers who do a lot of buying, but don't have a lot of purchasing experience. So, understanding that you may buy something in January and sell it for full price the next November, but you don't make, your profit really isn't there. That's depreciated. Usually to kind of keep within your margins as a general principle, you're wanting to roll product overs, 14 days at a time if you can, 30 days at the most. So, we've been trying to educate dealers that they could also use that tool to kind of help manage that as well. You take a risk on a product, it all costs money. It's cash flow. And that's why I think one of the big things about a parts department, that'll eat up your cash faster than anything you have. You can floor units, you can do things over there. The service department, you're not really tied to a lot over there. but that parts department, they're ordering, receiving, and doing things every day. So, if you're struggling with cash flow management, or you're trying to teach a manager how to understand cash flow management, that's a way to use that tool in real time. You can say, hey, I got this really nice carbon fiber helmet. We don't normally sell it. I want to take a risk on it. But the reality is, if you're really not moving that thing in 14 days, you want to mark it down. Right. Yeah. So having a tool that you can make those decisions, even at a part by part level, and again, get those notifications in real time and say, now do something with it. That smart notification I told you about, that whole tool is not just about saying, hey, something happened. It's about teaching people there's a closed in loop here. So in that case, if we got that notification, we have something to do, you do that task, and then the notification removes itself. Right. So again, we're really trying to help the dealer just trust in our system, that for all these workflows that are hard to manage, that there's somebody in there managing it, helping you manage it in real time.
That's super cool, man. Let's keep going with that just for a little bit more, right? So okay. We talked about the obsolescence that's in inventory, in stock, that's aged, right? But when you have a good, suite of products, or you have a good, type of ordering that brings in some popular stuff, right? And you go through it real quickly. What types of reports should an inventory manager, parts manager be looking at to say, hey, we actually sell these things at a pretty good margin. We see some seasonality. We're not just using our gut, we're using the data that the system is telling us through our retail sales that, hey, we need to order more of this, or we need to order less of this. What types of reports should we be looking at inside DX1 or any other DMS at that point to say, here's what my targets look like, and here's what I need to order to hit those?
Yeah. If you're a dealer who self-admittedly doesn't like to pull data out, and you really spend a lot of time going through it and making charts and massaging it, we have a top 100 sales report, right? You want to click your report and just let our system tell you what you've been selling, top 100, and that's kind of what your capacity is at. You can do that. Past that, we have a number of different reports, but I'd say in almost any system, you're going to have a part sale report, right? What's actually happening. So, being able to take that data out of that report and do something with it. That's what I feel like most managers have to do. One of the things we're looking at adding over the summer, we did this in our service department last summer, and we're looking at parts, is reports that just focus on key performance indicators, which is really what we're talking about. I always like looking through all the data, but that takes a lot of time, and not everybody likes to do that. There's kind of weirdos out there like me in those dealerships who just, obsess over the numbers, but they're important. But for a lot of people, again, they're either not that way or don't have that luxury, and that's not a bad thing. So, looking at those reports is helpful, but I think, overall, there's a lot of tools that you can do along the way. Once you look at those reports, okay, good. But now how do we manage this? So using a min-max system, most DMSs have min-maxes. So, once you get to a point where you've gone through that reporting and you understand those trends, then the next step is, going and starting to manage that process. Oh, okay, we're selling this oil filter, or this helmet, or this plug, or this light bulb, whichever times. Let's not manually do this anymore. Let's go in and set a min-max and start making that process go. But again, not all dealers subscribe to things like min-max. That's a tough part about a question like this is, I've seen, we have the ability to build custom reports. A dealer can do that within our system. And we can also help dealers build custom reports. Not everybody really knows how to get to that end result. And we have a team specialist who can help with that with our dealers that come in. So yeah. I think, in our system, like I said, there's a number of reports. You can look at just special orders. You can look at stocking parts you sold to your RO. But again, I think, depending on your capacity, you're either in a part sale report or a top sales report.
One last question in just the parts department, right? So one of the things that I've always tried to work on is the inclusion of the parts department into some of our marketing materials. Yeah. And the most obvious, I think, that you would do as a kickback coupon, or some type of mailer, or even a digital coupon to say, hey, here's a discount, or here's, say $5, $10, whatever the monetary amount is. But it's a coupon that we want to give you as a customer, or maybe we're trying to entice you to be a customer of our dealership. Coupon codes, right? It was always kind of a headache with some of these other DMSs, to where, if I can remember right, we had to, create a part number, do it as a negative value or negative percentage, limit it to a quantity. And then we would almost make that into some type of parts scannable code that we would then put on some type of marketing material and then deliver to the customer. obviously that process that I just explained is riddled with holes and could be, primed for some fraud, people reusing the coupon over and over and over, or
Right.
your cashier, say, hey, do you want a discount on that part? Boop, and they do it right behind the counter rather than the customer bringing it in. What is your philosophy on trying to include some coupon codes for particularly the parts department to do some type of discounting to entice customers to do more business with us?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. At a high level concept, I think it's smart. Again, as a somebody who's in a BDM, that's really what you're doing. Yeah, we see that position majority on the major unit side, but that is the reality. And the fact is, getting people into your store to buy parts is harder and harder because they can compete with the online market.
Yeah.
Getting e-commerce, getting things shipped directly in your house at a right price is difficult to compete with. So yeah, I definitely think getting coupons out and promotions that can really help the parts department is smart. We've seen it, right? Buying coffee, have a punch card. People will show up and buy coffee at a certain place because the 12th one is free. So incentivizing your customers is never a bad thing, especially if you're going to save them money. And then past that, I think it's knowing your customer base.
Dealers, get ready to accelerate your sales with MotoHunt Marketplace. For a limited time, we're offering a free trial to powersports and motorcycle dealers to showcase your inventory where it matters most. MotoHunt isn't just a platform. With our unparalleled Google-esque search technology, your listings climb to the top of page results, capturing the attention of motivated buyers without the need for a bidding war. We'll send direct, qualified leads straight to your CRM or inbox. Get more visibility on your in-stock units and convert more sales is what MotoHunt Marketplace offers. Your inventory deserves the spotlight, and with MotoHunt, that's exactly where it'll be. Sign up today for free. Visit dealers.motohunt.com/fixit. That's dealers.motohunt.com/fixit. That's FIXIT to claim your free trial today.